There really aren't many like actual hacks to getting way better as a producer or an artist really quickly. But I think this is one of the only ones, and it's remaking your favorite songs from scratch. The reason this is actually such a hack is because you get to learn every aspect of what makes it so good. And not just that, but when you're making your music, you actually now have presets for like the types of instruments used, or ideas in your head of the types of chords used, or ideas of how it's actually structured. There are a lot of remake videos on YouTube, and I've actually made one of them where the person takes you through a remake that they've done of a track. But I think a better way to actually learn how to do this yourself is to just watch someone else do it. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna set myself a huge challenge of remaking a song which I think is a genuine masterpiece of the 21st century. Today, I'm gonna try and remake Pink and White by Frank Ocean.
That's the way every day goes, every time we've no control.
And we're not gonna try and get like kinda close. I'm gonna get it as physically close as I possibly can. And it might go terribly wrong. I might quit and be like, I really cannot do this at all. But if it goes all right, at the end, we can both go through it and either laugh or cry or be really excited about how close it is to the original. Because it could be really close or it could be nowhere near. I'm not even gonna try to not get copyright claimed on this video because that's gonna be fucking impossible. So every ad that you watch on this, Frank's getting the money from it. Nice.
Disclaimer, this is Mega Nerd episode. I am going to indulge every single part of myself as a producer, and I only expect producers to watch after this point. If you aren't one of the producers in my audience, I am sorry. I'll see you next week. So I start with drums. Once I've got the song into the project, I lock in and listen really hard to one element. I'm starting with the hat on this one. Let's see if we think it's a live one or a synthesized one. I personally think it was recorded live, so I'm going to rummage through some live drum libraries to see if I can find one that sounds similar.
Almost that. I'm having so much fun. All I'm doing is searching for hi-hats.
After a bit of messing around, I got to something that I was happy with. And then there was still some like frequency which I didn't like, so I EQ'd that out. So that's as close as I'm going to get for the main hat, but there are a few other hits. There's a psst. I found this sound on one of the drum libraries, and then EQ'd a little bit to get it to this. Then went for the open hat. I looked through the same drum kit to see if there was an open hat that sounded similar, but there wasn't, so I went over to Splice and found one. I EQ'd out some of the highs, but the main thing that was annoying me is that Frank's hi-hat goes psst, whereas this one was going psst. And since I can't actually control how open the hat is on a sample, my workaround was to use some volume or automation. That all probably looked super tedious, but like everything else just feels kind of off if the first element's off.
How long's this been? Almost an hour. All I've done is hats.
This is what we got.
To be fair, those hats kind of slap.
You probably noticed the snare. I didn't actually have to go through the painful process of creating my own because someone on Reddit already had. It was pretty damn close, but it wasn't completely perfect, so I edited a couple things. If you listen to the original, it's like pa, not pa, so it's less tight. So I slapped on a plugin called Snare Buzz for some snare buzz, then RC20 for some saturation.
There we go.
A room reverb to bring all of that up, and then finally a transient shaper to bring up the sustain of all of that.
There we go.
Alright, onto the bass. Let's have a listen. If you have ears, you could probably tell that that's a bass guitar. So, I pulled out my bass guitar library. Yes, I know, I should get a real bass guitar, but we work with what we've got.
So let's try and play that in.
Now for this and for the chords and anything melodic coming up, whenever I play something in that's from the track, it is literally just by listening and trial and error. If you want to do remakes yourself, but this seems way too difficult, give it a try with some simpler stuff. You might actually surprise yourself. And in my piano video, I talked about how you can learn transcription as a skill. And you're never going to get better at it if you don't practice. I messed around with the cabinet and the amp and stuff in the plugin to try and get it as close as possible before adding any extra effects. And it was pretty close because honestly, it's just kind of a bass guitar. But there was one thing that was annoying me. These two notes. There's a bit of twang there, and I don't know if it's just from the way that the guitar is being played, but I thought that I could kind of achieve that with a little bit of a wah pedal.
So is this what I'm hearing, or is it something else?
I think it's something else. And I think it's something else that I can't actually emulate here. That's a key point with remakes. There are a couple like parameters that you can't actually replicate.
It's got more attack for starters.
Because they're probably just specificities of a sample or the way something was played in live or something like that. Those things you just got to kind of let go. But yeah, so I ended up just moving on after doing a bit of EQ in the plugins because the tone was pretty good.
Oh, whatever. All right, let's move on for this for now. Let's get the kick in.
I know that a dude called Malay has produced a lot of Frank stuff, so I went through one of his packs looking for a similar kick.
It's like a thump kick. Malay thump kick. Oh, it's definitely this one. Very similar. Oh, yes!
I put this sample into the right kick pattern, and then I made sure to reduce the volume of the ghost hits, because otherwise it doesn't like move properly. Like the snare, it needed a bit more top, so I did a similar thing that I did to that.
Oh yeah, that's good. Ah! Let's go. Let's fucking go.
I also added some birds, because I could hear some in the original.
Alright, now for the piano. Now for the thing which is going to be make or break. Dun, dun. It's like quite twangy. It's playing octaves. Da-da. Oh, this is so mega epic. Oh, that. A bit of wow.
I was honestly pretty surprised at how simple that sound was. I thought it'd take a lot more processing, but it was just a harsh upright piano with some reverb playing octaves. As you just saw, I just adjusted a few of the timings because I wanted it to swing right. But the thing is, that's not the only thing contributing to the melody. There's also like an E piano playing a bit of a counter melody with some chords.
What I'm going to use here is my first ever affiliate link. It's from Rhodes, the OG makers of the E-piano. So they sent me over the actual Rhodes plugin. Let's see if it sounds like what he was actually using. Oh my god, it's actually coming together. See, that's got some RC20 on it as well. Some wow.
At this point, I'm realizing that Frank's stuff is kind of just nostalgic, vintage vibes. So RC20 basically works on everything.
Tube. It doesn't sound like a full chord, actually. And here, no. So I'm gonna take a punt and say that they're shell 7th chords. Just no 5th. The 3rd is difficult to hear as well. Just lower that in the mix.
I find that getting the details like the chord voicings correct, it can be the difference between a remake that feels like the original and one that just doesn't. Before I get into the vocals, I feel like it's kind of missing something.
Is it like a pad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there. You hear it more in here.
Yeah.
Or is it just the reverb? I'm at this point where I've got all the elements that you can hear up front in there, but there's like something, when I A-B them, there's something filling out the space in between, and I'm not sure if it's a pad, just some really low, like ethereal pad. I think that's what it might be with a lot of reverb, or if it's just like lots of reverb tails from all the other shit and the vocals, which I haven't put in yet.
After fucking around looking for heaps of different pads, I ended up settling on like a choir sort of thing. I don't think it's exactly what he used in the original, but it kind of fills out the space in the right way. So I'm gonna settle on it and move on. Now for the fun bit, and also the bit where it stops sounding like the original.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! That's the closest I'm gonna get, bro.
Yeah.
This is gonna be harder. I don't have the deep, beautiful, raspy voice like Frank.
Yeah.
I did so many fucking takes on the but now it's time to move on to the vocals, and I'll just talk over these basically. I've done my best Frank impression, but like I said, this is the part where it starts sounding more like a cover and less like a remake, because I just can't replicate that incredible voice of his. And I actually could really hear the difference in quality between like my mic and recording setup and like whatever he used, which is understandable. Now for a lot of remakes, you could kind of just stop here, and you don't really need to do the vocals if you're a producer, and you've already learned a ton from all the production that you've done up to this point. But If you're someone like me who records his own vocals or usually works with vocals, it's actually really educational to do this because you learn kind of what sorts of vocal stacks and what sort of harmonies and what sort of processing is done on the vocals. And then you can save some effects chains and like use them in future. So for example here, what I'm learning is that I think Frank tends to use like a dominant vocal in the center, of course, but that's layered with another one on top of it to give it more of like a thickness or something. And then I'm hearing a panned vocal left and right just to kind of give it some width as well. It's pretty impossible to replicate recording conditions from somewhere else, but trying to replicate the tone in kind of like an EQ curve or with some sorts of saturation or compression teaches you how to process vocals. Not to mention, as a vocalist, trying to replicate the tone of someone else's voice really teaches you more about how to use your voice. Anyway, after what's been about an hour of recording, it's time to move on to the most fun part of the entire track.
Why is it still in tune? I haven't touched this in like half a year. So it's something like that.
It sounds okay like that, but listening to Frank's one, there are definitely some lower notes that are played on like a viola or a cello.
Maybe violas then? We need more layers, bro. We need more layers! I don't know why I wasn't doing an upload before. That's pretty good, bro. That's pretty fucking good. Yeah, this is what we've got so far.
That's the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow.
Oh, you thought we were done? Not quite.
Give 'em some sweet.
So I've got the first half of the song done, and in some songs that means that you've got all the elements in because they just vary after that point. But not in this one. There's a lot of interesting stuff that comes in the second half, and I don't know how I'm going to do most of it. But let's see.
In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade. Nose.
Let's see what we can do.
Basically, when it comes to more niche percussion like bongos, if I want it to sound like the original, I'm going to have to go through and craft drum shots that sound the way I hear them. In this case, I got a couple of one shots and also chopped a few out of some loops and then processed them by like transposing them around a little bit and changing the volumes just to get it as close to the original as possible.
It's kind of like that.
Dark skin, our milk crate.
Oh! That's exactly what I'm hearing.
Guitar time.
In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade.
This one is.
Nosedive in the floodlines.
Looks a treat.
After the obligatory 600 takes, I think I got one which I was happy with.
In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade. Nosedive in the floodlines, tall tower, milk crate.
Both of those were decent takes.
If you listen closely, you can tell that Frank's using a steel string guitar because it's a bit more metallic.
Dark skin of a summer shade.
But since all I have is a nylon string guitar, I was genuinely considering using this as an excuse to go and buy myself a steel string, but instead I used a pick, which is a bit of a sin, I know, and then with the magic of processing, I got it to sound kinda similar.
In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade, nosedive in the floodlines, tall tower, milk crate. Cannonball up the porch side.
After fixing some of the variation in percussion in the different sections, I recorded some more vocals for the second part. And one thing this has actually taught me about the way that Frank sings is that he gets such a strong part of his tone in the high mids from kind of combining his head and chest voice. It's something I've noticed that I don't do at all, and it could be something really cool to learn for the future.
Porch side, older kids trying off the roof.
That one super high note that comes swelling in and out is a classic synth string note which is used a lot in disco.
Cannonball off the porch side.
Now time to do the bass again, because it's completely different in the second section. And I noticed that it's actually different in each ear.
If you could die and come back to life. Up for air from the swimming pool. You kneel down to the dry land. Kiss the earth that birthed you. Gave you tools just to stay alive and make it up.
I feel like there's a second bass guitar now, and they're panned hard left and right. He loves a switch up, doesn't he?
Just the same way you showed me, you showed.
Let's just make a completely new bass guitar for the second section, right?
I couldn't be bothered to play it all in, so I drew it in with MIDI. And now it's time to move on to the hardest bit, that crazy ethereal bit at the end.
Say what up to life.
This bit's gonna be so hard, bro. Basically it's like I'm hearing lots of female voices, choir voices, and like ad-libs and shit. And I ain't no female.
It's all downhill from here.
This is fun though. It's a real challenge. I can do it. I can hit the note, but it doesn't sound good at all. Remember life. Remember how it was. Palm tree, Michael Jackson, all in cheese. Say what up to Matt. Snoop. Say what up to Danny. Say what up to life and mortality. Bending up my nights, running up a melpatine, nicotine, stealing granny cigs. In terms of accuracy, for like what I can do, this is pretty fucking close.
With the vocals as good as I was realistically ever going to get them, I put some strings in, and I wasn't completely sure how many were in there, so I kind of just went ham and had fun at this point, because this section already didn't sound like the original. Might as well make it my own. I pretty much had everything in at this point, but there were just some variations and little details throughout, which I'll go through rapid fire right now. I layered the kick with one which knocked a bit more on top. I changed a few notes from the bass because they varied a bit in some sections, and I changed a few velocities on the hats because I think some sections have different recordings. Alright.
I think I got most of the stuff, realistically. Holy shit. This is pretty close. Let's listen to it.
That's the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow, in the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade, nosedive in the floodlines, tall tower, milk crates. It's the same way you showed me. Cannonball up the porch side, older kids trying off the roof, just the same way you showed me. You showed. If you could die and come back to life, up for air from the swimming pool, you kneel down to the dry land, kiss the earth that birthed you, gave you tools just to stay alive and make it out when the sun is ruined. That's the same way you showed me. You showed me love, glory from above, regardless, dear, it's all downhill from here. If you liked this remake and want to buy the stems, I'll put a link down in the description. I spent a little bit of time doing a rough mix on them, so it includes 59 audio files, a master file, and I think 8 MIDI files for if you wanted to look deeper into the chords and melodies. It would support me and I'd really appreciate it. But otherwise, I honestly think you'd get more out of trying to remake it yourself or one of your favourite songs. It It's a really cool exercise for getting you out of your own production habits, and even just remaking like 8 bars or something will teach you so much about how your favorite artists think. Alright, that's enough from me. Hope you enjoyed watching me go nerd mode this week, and I'll see you next week.
Whoa! Whoa! I did not think I'd be able to do that. That's so epic! I thought it'd sound really ass.
In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of the summer shade,